Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into the latest video. As I promised last time, I'm going to be giving you guys my tight end tiers entering fantasy football drafts. They're about to really be underway over these next few weeks with the season just about here. We just got to get through the last few weeks of the dog days of the summer before we get into September. With that being said, before I dive into the tiers today, I want to give you guys my thoughts on how I approach tight ends really quickly. In my opinion, guys, I think it's very smart just to get one tight end. I think the tight end position is so volatile. You got your upper echelon tight ends, and then you got to just take your throws, your dart throws, and maybe that hits for you. I'm not a big fan of having two tight ends on my roster because I kind of believe if you have two tight ends, you have no tight ends because then it's just a problem trying to pick the right tight end to start every week. Ideally, you just want to get you a tight end that's going to give you guys those 5 to 10 weeks. Obviously, the higher the ceiling, the better. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into my first tier. And it's just one player. It's called the Travis Kelce tier. I think we all know Travis Kelce is easily the best fantasy football tight end that you can grab. Since 2020, he has no surprise. He has the highest average point per game in PPR leagues according to Pro Football Reference, and that's by like 4 points. So that's why I didn't just create this like locked in tight end one tier or like tight end ones that you could trust tier with Travis Kelce like I did in some of my previous videos because he's in a class of his own when it comes. I mean, he is, let alone not only as a regular viewing a tight end. As far as like the NFL aspect, but from a fantasy aspect, he's clearly in a class of his own. I don't have to talk about how great he is. Literally, there's only two things that can go wrong with Travis Kelce this season: injuries, which he's been relatively healthy throughout his whole career, and then obviously he's getting up there in age. But those are factors out of your control. So assuming that the age hasn't caught up with him and he doesn't get hurt this year, he's going to likely finish as the tight end one by the end of the season. Now, moving into the next tier of players, I got 4 players that are on my radar that I view that are tight ends with tight end ones that offer you a high floor. And these guys are, of course, going to be able to give you ceiling games throughout the season. That's Mark Andrews, who has the second highest point per game average since 2020. George Kittle, who has the third highest point per game average. TJ Hockenson, who has the fifth highest point per game average, and then Dallas Goedert. Out of this group, I definitely got my eyes on TJ Hockenson because with obviously, he got traded there last year, and he was a reliable contributor to that Vikings offense. But with Adam Thielen leaving the Vikings offense, that's vacating like 107 targets, if I'm remembering that right. Now, obviously, I'll go to some of the wide receivers, but with T.J. Hockenson likely going to be getting a contract extension over this next couple weeks, they're going to give him the ball. So I definitely got my eyes on him. But I think either for these tight ends that you could leave with the draft with, you're going to be happy. They're going to give you that nice 7 they should be getting that 7 to 10 targets a game, and then they're going to give you guys those ceiling games when they end up leading their team in targets throughout the season in certain matchups. Now, tight ends ones that I view, this is my next tier. Tight end ones that I view that offer you not only a good solid tight end to enter the season with. I think these 3 players they offer you a ceiling where I don't want to say they could be the tight end one over Travis Kelce, but I think they could end up pushing him this season. One is Darren Waller. He's got the 4th most highest point per game average, and I've kind of said this in videos throughout the last month or so. Whenever I spoken about the Giants, is I think he's going to be the Travis Kelce of the Giants offense. The wide receiver corps in New York, it's a bunch of like smaller guys, quicker, smaller, faster guys, death by paper cut type of wide receivers. They do have some guys that can stretch the field, but Darren Waller is going to be that big body presence for Daniel Jones when the offense is on the field. And especially when you get down into that red zone area, he's going to be that guy that Daniel Jones is going to throw the ball up to. So I think Brian Daboll and their coaching staff is going to use his versatility as a tight end. And that's why I think he's going to have a huge season. I think he's going to push Travis Kelce for the tight end 1 spot. And he does have the 4th highest point per game average. Now, this next name, I know some people might be down on him because he hasn't lived up to the 4th overall draft pick that he was at. But I still am not giving up on Kyle Pitts. He does, since 2020, even though he's only played 2 years, He has 11th most point per game average in PPR leagues. Now, you are betting that Desmond Ridder is going to take that next step, but I think he's going to be a little bit more accurate than what Marcus Mariota was for Kyle throughout the last year. And then when you look at tight ends, they're the highest yards per reception on a minimum of 60 receptions since 2020. Kyle Pitts has the highest average. He averaged almost as 15 yards a reception. So the problem isn't that he can't produce when he gets the ball in his hands. It's just that he hasn't had a reliable quarterback to consistently get him the ball. And I think with him entering his third year, he is kind of like that third year. I don't really think tight ends can kind of take a little bit longer than wide receivers, my whole year 3 thing. But Kyle Pitts is kind of a wide receiver, right? So I'm kind of factoring in he's going to have a breakout season in year 3, and he's going to be that tight end that everybody thought he could be entering the league. And then my other guy is Evan Engram. Now, Evan Engram has the 5th highest point per game average. I don't know if he's going to offer you like a push towards Travis Kelce's like number 1 spot, but the reason why I put him in the upside section instead of the high floor section is just I think he's going to have more spike weeks this season. I do think the addition of Calvin Ridley is going to be a major benefit for him. Calvin Ridley, because Calvin Ridley's going to work out on the boundary, and he's going to demand more attention from the secondary, and that should open up more of the middle of the field for Evan Engram to work with. And I do think Trevor Lawrence is going to take that next step, possibly be in an MVP conversation this season. And if he's in the MVP conversation, that means he is putting up big numbers in this Jaguars offense. And I want all parts of that if I can. And that's why I wouldn't mind leaving with Evan Engram in my drafts, because I think he offers a great upside this year. Moving into the next tier of players, these are guys that are likely they're going to start off as tight end 2s, but I think they offer a high ceiling where you could see them finishing as a tight end 1 by the end of the year. One is David Njoku. I just think we're going to see more of the older Deshaun Watson of this year. They got Amari Cooper now, Elijah Moore. They got a couple younger guys like Cedric Tillman and Donovan Peoples-Jones as the wide receivers. So again, the better wide receivers that are out there, like I was just saying with Engram, it's going to open up more of the middle of the field. And I think we're going to see Deshaun and Njoku connect more often this year. And we're going to actually see Njoku become more of a reliable fantasy tight end than he has in the past. And that's why I think he offers you the higher ceiling. I talked about these next 4 tight ends and those late round tight ends I'm looking to target video I did a couple weeks ago. So I won't go into too much depth on these guys. If you want to hear more feelings on these next 4 players, please go check out that video. But it's the young guys, Dalton Kincaid, Sam Laporta, and Chigo Okonkwo with the Titans. And then Greg Dulcich, who, by the way, does have the 18th most points per game since 2020 in his limited action that he had in his rookie year last year. Those are just 4 guys that I believe can be the top tight ends in their offense by that playoff time. And a guy like Sam Laporta, he might see a lot of targets to start the year because they don't really have much in that passing attack outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown, especially with Jameson Williams that's going to be serving a 6-game suspension to start the year. I have deeper thoughts on those guys as late round options for you guys that offer you that high ceiling. Just go check out that video. It's on my channel. You should be able to find it. It came out a couple weeks ago. And then one last name is Juwan Johnson. He was a wide receiver that's converted into a tight end. He had a small breakout season for the Saints last year. They gave him a contract extension, so as I always talk, you kind of want to follow the money sometimes. So he's going to be within that offense. Now they brought Derek Carr in, and what we saw from this past first preseason game, which you don't want to read too much into, it did look like that Saints offense is going to probably move the ball with Derek Carr. And one thing I really kind of factored in with Juwan Johnson that I think can offer you a high ceiling is John Gruden has been working with the Saints and Derek Carr this offseason. He's not like on their coaching staff or anything, but from what I've understood is he's kind of helped implemented things that worked for Derek Carr and John Gruden in Las Vegas into this Saints offense. Well, we do know that John Gruden's offense does like to utilize tight ends. Think about what Derek Carr and Darren Waller were doing for that period of time when it was Gruden running the Raiders with a healthy Darren Waller and Derek Carr throwing the ball. He's a very good fantasy relevant tight end. And then you got Chris Olave. It looks like Michael Thomas might be back to being healthy. So like I talked about some of these other tight ends, Better wide receivers on the outside opens up things in the middle, and I can see Juwan Johnson taking advantage of it. And like I said, he's a late dart round throw. And if at that point, if you my view is like if you don't get one of those like elite, those like good, great to elite fantasy tight ends, like you might as well just wait and just take a dart throw on a tight end too with a high ceiling that is on this list. Now, if you miss out on all the high ceiling guys because they all get taken, my last tier of tight ends I'm going to speak about really quick is these guys I view as safe tight ends you can start the season with. I just don't think these guys are the sexiest names. I don't really see that they're going to give you a high ceiling, but I see these guys as safe options for you that's going to give you guys a quality set of points, at least begin the year while you maybe try to search the waiver wire for that ceiling type of tight end performance. But just running through these names, Pat Freiermuth, he does have the 10th highest point per game average since 2020. Dalton Schultz, he has the 8th highest point per game average since 2020. Cole Kmet, we got Noah Fant, who has the 14th most points per game since 2020. Hunter Henry, who does have the 19th most points per game since 2020. And then Tyler Higbee, who does have the 13th most points per game. So those are 20 tight ends that are on my radar. I don't go as deep in my tight end rankings because, like I said, I'm only leaving with one tight end in all my fantasy drafts. It's how I've always done it. So I keep a very short list on my rankings when I enter the draft. So with that being said, that is today's video. As always, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. If you haven't followed or subscribed to my channel, make sure you guys do that. I'm on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, or X, whatever you want to call it. You got my YouTube channel that you can follow all my content. If you have any questions about tight ends, get in the comment section. Next video that you guys will see from me, it will be more than likely come out this Sunday. I'm gonna give you guys my top 5 streamable defenses that I want to leave my fantasy football drafts with, and that will probably be my last of fantasy football content until right before week 1 of the season. I'll give you guys an update what I do have in my plans over the next couple weeks while we kind of wait out, like I said, wait out these dog days of the summer and get this season underway. With that being said, I'm gonna hop off here. I hope you guys have a great day, night, week, whenever you're watching this. Peace out. I'll see you guys later.